I'm Ethan Foster. This is Marco Amaya. We're broadcasting to you from Cornelius, North Carolina today. We're going to be covering political issues going on in our country today.
Yes, thanks for joining us, and we're going to be talking about the most important and controversial topics of the day, because I think there's a high need for this type of show to exist since there's so few voices. What do you think?
My first question for you is, what do you think of the Democratic Party going into the 2020 election?
The Democratic Party, they have a lot of candidates, but they don't have anything that's original or real. It's just part of the same playbook that they've had. All the candidates are kind of like the same, just they pretend to be different. But we've got Biden, who's like the establishment sort of like puppet that's always been there, kind of part of the whole combine with Clinton and all that. And then you got Sanders, who's like far left radical, AOC, which is just like plain just crazy. And then with Bernie Sanders, I think, Biden and Sanders probably the top two from the Democrats.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be more scared of, I know we were talking about this yesterday, I'd be more scared of Trump running against Biden in 2020 than Bernie for one specific reason. I think Bernie's ideas are far too radical to steal any moderate independent votes, especially in the Rust Belt. I think Biden has a blue-collar feel to him. I don't think it's authentic or genuine by any stretch of the imagination, but I've spoken to several left-leaning moderates over the past few months that had voted for Trump because of how terrible of a candidate Hillary was. And they said going into 2020, they may not vote for Trump, but they wouldn't vote for Bernie, but they would possibly vote for Biden. I think everyone else in the race is pretty much irrelevant to this point. Beto O'Rourke is toast. Kamala Harris is really like a tier 2 candidate for me. I think as far as the intersectional pyramid goes, she's a woman and she's African American. That's really the only reason their base is going to rally behind her. She was a garbage attorney general in the city of San Francisco. And Elizabeth Warren has no headway behind her.
Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, I like see what she posts on Twitter, and man, every time I see her, she's always, I can always see how she's manipulating people to identify with like the LGBTQ, or she's always trying to find a way to appeal to a certain group and pretending that she's like involved with that group.
Her latest bid, Elizabeth Warren.
No, what bid?
She wanted to raise taxes to erase student loan debt.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's the thing with the Democrats. So they always try to offer free stuff. And it's like, I don't know why people keep buying into it, because obviously there's nothing that's free. And every time that someone says they're going to get something free, it's always going to be taken essentially from you, because the taxes are raised. So you turn in, eventually, if the government has so much power that you're spending half of your paycheck to just go straight to the government, they can control your life after a while. And that's what happens in Venezuela. It's gotten to the point where they have no money and the government controls everything. That's like the opposite of what America is. And so essentially the Democrat Party is anti-American. They're destroying the country because they're bringing in a system of socialism and communism which is against what America was founded on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Everything that comes out of their mouth, it just goes against anything that makes my heart beat for the country. Honestly, I don't make a lot where I'm at right now, but I would never look at a wealthy person and think that they owe me something. And right. I know we'd spoken earlier that my entire message is, as far as Democratic policy is, it's not the government's job to provide anyone with health care. It's not the government's job to provide anyone with food. My overall statement on even the welfare state in the country is, if you're walking with a limp, you could use a crutch. You don't need a crutch. You could just walk with a limp. I don't believe there's people out there that would die if they didn't have welfare. I don't buy it. I don't like how people roll their ankle on the basketball court and now they're living off disability checks because they don't want to go to work.
Exactly. What happens is there's millions of people. It's not. They always say they think it's a small percentage. No, it's a huge amount of people that take advantage of the system, because there's people that are lazy, and there's actually a lot of people that are lazy. It's kind of like you're domesticating an animal. If you're always going to give the animal food, well, then it's going to expect the food to come from you every time. It's the same thing with the government. If the government's giving people free money, which is coming from everyone else that's actually hardworking and paying taxes, those people are going to be domesticated pets of the government that can't even survive on their own. It makes them weak. It actually creates a limp. And then what happens is that creates a society that's very weak, because then they can't do their own stuff. They can't make their own money. They can't, and they always think that they need it from the government. And if they're born into that system, they don't know anything else. So then what if there's like an economic collapse? What if there's a difficult time in our country? Those people are going to be the first to die off. They have no clue how to survive, nothing, zero. Even like me, I'm not like saying that I know like how to survive out in the woods by myself with nothing, but at least I make my own money. I want to pay for my own place. I have pride in having my own stuff. It's like part of being a man. But this government controlling or giving people free stuff to live off of, it's kind of for people that are weak. It makes people weak. It makes them not. It kind of stunts their development mentally too. What do you think?
Yeah, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. I don't think there's any pride in walking around with your hand out. I was meaning to ask what your thoughts were on our immigration policy. I have a huge issue with people walking across the border and getting on our welfare system. It's not fair to people like my great-grandfather, who had immigrated over here from Sweden the legal way, went through the process, came in through New York, got his papers, took the test. And it's not fair to the other people that want to follow the law.
Yeah, it's the law is the law, and it's like really, it's funny how simple it is, because if they're illegally crossing the border, it shouldn't even be a controversial issue. It's not like something that's like debatable. It's simple. They're illegally crossing. They're not supposed to be here. It's against the law. We've always needed controlled immigration, going through the process like your great-grandfather and my parents that became citizens, because they go in the right way, because the government has a quota or a certain limit of people that can come into the country. If we don't follow that limit, then we're literally going to be invaded, because if there's no limit to it, which is what the Democrats love, is just an invasion of foreigners, then what's going to happen is the country is going to change. You're going to have a bunch of people that are coming from war-torn areas or poor areas, and they're not educated in American values. So the American values eventually get destroyed if they can't even speak the language, for example. How are they going to understand American values, look at American media, to understand the Constitution, any of these things, if they're coming from a totally different country, totally different culture, don't even understand the values we have here? Those are some of the main problems with illegal immigration, but at the end of the day, it's illegal. So we need to go by the law, because if we don't follow the law, then what's the point of any law that we have? It's just all worth nothing if we don't follow the law. So yeah, at the southern border, that's one thing that we have to, obviously, I believe in a physical barrier. The wall with Trump, it makes perfect sense.
Well, look, it worked in Israel. Their illegal immigration went down by 99%, from what I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So I don't like the idea that Democrats just look at it as, let them in illegally. Let them vote in our elections. They'll vote Democrat. And
they typically vote Democrat. The statistics show that. So it's like it's clearly a strategy from the Democrats.
You know what's weird though? Like, from the time that I spent when I was down in Peru and South America, the vibe that I get from the Hispanic people that I've met and have been close with, they have very conservative, very Christian values. I honestly believe they only vote left because they think that they should, because they're told to by leftist politicians tell them it's a vibe, it's a trend that I really don't like.
I don't like it either. It's media manipulation for sure. Because like mainstream media, there's a lot of leftist influence in it right now, and that's kind of part of the reason why we're creating this show, is because we want to have reach a bigger audience and more conservative voice, because I don't want Hollywood to take over people's minds, for example, because
Right.
they're full of leftists. Clearly, we need to kind of change the culture. It's a culture war, essentially. Like we want to take over the culture by understanding that we believe in free speech. We're not trying to oppress people. It's the opposite. We're trying to free people to understand that you're free to say whatever you want to say as long as it's not hurting anybody. And for example, you were talking about the Peruvian people. I mean, there's definitely conservative people, but are they the ones that are actually coming here, or are the conservatives staying there? What do you think?
No, I don't think they're migrating here. I haven't heard of any migrant caravan coming from as far south as Peru and South America, but I think it's a huge issue. There's one, I don't know if you saw in the news today, there was just a shooting in San Diego at a synagogue. One person is dead, one person's in custody so far. I didn't know if you had any thoughts on what gun control is going to look like coming forth in America. I'd just seen it while I was at work.
You said San Diego?
Earlier. Yeah, there's a shooting at a synagogue in San Diego.
Dang. I mean, there's a lot of shootings going on. What I believe in is clearly having guns to protect yourself. That's definitely like a clear, obvious thing to do, because school shootings is like a big topic nowadays because in the Democrats, they're always talking about common sense gun laws, but their common sense is completely illogical.
No, they want to disarm citizens, when they raise taxes on us, we can't revolt. That's what I completely believe. They want to disarm us, so when they raise taxes and we're bit about it, we have no chance of standing up to the federal government.
It's repeating what the Nazis did, and they always say Trump is a Nazi, dude. The Democrats have way more in common with the Nazis. They were the ones trying to take away the guns, restrict weapons, so that they could easily control those people. They can't fight back against an army that's patrolling your street. If you have no weapons, nothing, you're just a slave. So that's why America is beautiful. It's because of these rights to have our weapons. I mean, if we have the weapons, we can also have the free speech. But if we don't have any guns or any sort of strength to the people, an arm of strength for the people, then how are we going to defend free speech if it comes to those dire situations in history? It's not going to happen. We won't have any speech.
Right. I mean, that's why I have an AR-15. I have a pistol. I've had multiple pistols throughout my time since I was old enough to legally purchase one. And I have an AR-15 at my house, not because I like to target shoot, which I do, but just in case anything happened. I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, that's common sense. That's common sense. I don't know how people look at someone that wants to protect themselves and say that they're completely illogical and a violent person. No, if you want to protect yourself, you're not a violent person. But in the Democrats' eyes, that's how they see people, is that oh, you have guns, you're a dangerous person, you're a threat to society. No, those are the people that are actually stopping mass shootings from happening, or stopping it in the middle of it happening. So a lot of mass shootings, there's someone that has a gun that actually shoots these guys down. What was that church shooting a while ago?
New Zealand. I thought it was a weak move.
Oh, that one too, but I was talking about something else.
Right, the lady that leads the country in New Zealand banned semi-automatic weapons in New Zealand. That was a weak move. I shouldn't be punished because some crazy person goes and does something terrible.
Right.
I just don't see how it's fair to the rest of society that owns guns responsibly.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me in the foot just because someone else goes and
Yeah. So they can get it illegally. They can shoot you down, but you're not allowed to have any of them. They can shoot you down with illegal guns, because obviously if it's illegal, it doesn't stop a lot of people from being able to acquire.
Well, I don't see anyone shooting up a school or a church abiding by any other law. I don't see how banning firearms would stop a criminal from being a criminal.
Right. All it is stopping citizens from protecting themselves, because a criminal, the whole reason why they're criminals is because they're doing illegal things. A criminal isn't going to be like, oh, the lady banned the guns, oh, I can't do anything now. That's not how they think. They're like, oh, I can find a way around this. I can kill people with a truck if I have to. I can kill people, which they do. I mean, there's a ton of there's Islamic killings where they literally run a truck into a crowd of people. There's all kinds of things people do to kill people. But at the end of the day, the citizens that are law-abiding need a legal system that supports them to protect themselves. That's one of the biggest failings of the Democrat Party, which is really the death of the Democratic Party. Because, like, how do you...
Seize and control, I think, is their entire mindset there. I honestly only believe they want radical gun laws so they can point across the aisle to the Republicans. They can point across the aisle to us and say, we want to make society safe. Now that they're pointing at us, acting like we don't want society to be safe, which is ridiculous. Because we want society safe just as much they want society safe. But they don't want people to be able to defend themselves, which I have a huge issue with. And I was hoping we could change topics back to the 2020 election coming up.
Sure.
What do you think of Bernie Sanders' new proposal, if he's elected, to completely destroy health insurance in the private sector?
I think that it's like Venezuela. There can't be a monopoly of control over any industry, whether it's health insurance, education, or anything. This idea of getting rid of the private sector is completely illogical. It doesn't make any sense, because if you let the government take care of everything, they can jack prices up, and what are you going to do about it? You don't have a choice. You can't do anything. They control the quality of the products too. They're in bed with big pharma too. So what are they going to serve us? We're going to delicious lettuce that's going to help us? No, they're going to freaking give us whatever pills they want to give us, the vaccines they want to give us. It's too much. The Democrats are obsessed with worshiping the government. That's not what freedom is about. Freedom isn't letting someone else take care of everything. It's all about how to become self-sufficient and independent. That's really what Republicans believe in. It's debatable whether all the establishment Republicans believe in it,
I think
but the real Republicans in the country, the citizens, do.
I think the Republican Party is turning more libertarian in a sense. And as far as health insurance goes, I just don't understand why... fact check me on this, somebody, but 164 million Americans have health insurance. I have health insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield. Like, you've been to the DMV. I couldn't imagine I have a cold or I have an eye infection, and when I want to go to the doctor, I want to go to Novant up the street. I have to go to a place now like the DMV to get my health care, because these places don't exist. You wouldn't be able to just go to in urgent care. You wouldn't be able to just go to, I don't even know if Lake Norman Regional would still be there. I really think it's just control from the top down. I don't understand it.
It creates monopolies. And like what you're saying is actually a great point, because realistically, that's what happens. They get rid of all the options. You have to go to one place, and
fully reliant on the government. Yeah, is what they want.
And then look how many people live in this country. Just imagine everyone having to go to the same places. Venezuela, they have documentaries showing, because when they get healthcare to be universal and all this stuff, what happens is they don't end there. They go to the next thing. Oh, it's going to be food is going to be controlled. School is going to be controlled. They go through everything until they have everything.
Well, that's what led to Stalin in Russia, and then he killed 9 million of his own people, because it's full-blown socialist in the USSR, and he couldn't feed them.
Right,
is what happened. When we were studying World War II, world history, a couple days ago, Ed and I, and Stalin was worse than Hitler as far as the body count goes, and mass amounts of killing. Hitler was an evil in his own way, but people don't realize just how bad Stalin was. And just to get back to the topic of our government, outside of the Department of Transportation and certain parts of the Environmental Protection Agency, I don't really know what the government's good for. I don't even, as far as Department of Transportation, I don't even think they should have. I don't think they should run the security at airports. The TSA, I mean, they're terrible. I thought airport security was better security when it was private security. It was private security companies controlling security at the airports.
Yeah, that's a good point, because, like, again, it's the same concept in security now, because if you have a monopoly of security, then, if, let's say, the service sucks, right? What are you going to do about it? Nothing, because there's only one choice. But if you have multiple choices, which is all about the free market, which is really the real American way, then if that service sucks, you can just hire a better company, right? So like that's why it's so important to have variety.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
because
saying?
we're stuck with the TSA now, and they're garbage. You can tell the government employees that work for the TSA don't care about their jobs,
Right.
and I agree. Security at airports has gotten better tenfold since 9/11. My mother's a flight attendant. For those of you that don't know, so 9/11 growing up for me was like very scary, you know, and going and flying as often as I had in the past years, not as often now, but you just look at these people working security, and I can see in their faces they don't have my best interest. It's not that they're not doing their jobs. I'd rather see private security back in airports, I guess, is the overall statement that I have.
Yeah, because you're an American. We're American patriots. We believe in the private sector, not monopoly controlling everything and giving us what they want to give us, and we have no choice over it. That's just the most terrible way to look at it. That's exactly what Stalin did. That's what the Nazis did. They always think the Nazis were fascists and it has nothing to do with socialism. No, their name was socialism was in their name. It was like the National Socialist German Workers' Party. So like, you know, it's everything that the Democrats are now is very similar to what the socialists of the past have done. It's always about centralizing everything. And if there's only a few people, because that's what happens when you centralize anything into being controlled by one group, it's easily corruptible. So, you know, if there's one person in control of the entire security system of the country, for the airports, for example, you know, or a small group of people, well, what if they don't have the best interests that we want for our American people? What if they don't care about us? Well, they can easily set up a terrorist bombing. They can just easily make certain security officers not do their job to open up a gateway for a terrorist to come in. It's very easily manipulatable when you control everything from one single point, instead of having all these different companies that are competing to be better than each other.
I'd like to see the government downsized,
Yeah.
almost radically. I mean, yeah, I'd start with the Department of Education. Honestly, if I was ever elected president, the first thing I would do is completely destroy the Department of Education. I don't like how whoever's in power can just control from the top down what these kids are learning at schools. And when you look at when the Constitution was written, the idea for the United States of America was for it to be a convention of states. Mm-hmm. The most important politicians to us shouldn't even be the president. It should be our state senators, mm-hmm. our state congressmen, our state governor, and our local town mayor.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone in 1836 cared who the president was? No, because the most important politicians to them were local. The states lost so much power after the 1860s. So now we have a centralized government that is just completely controlling what the states do.
They keep gobbling up more power, and they spend a lot of money, and they're in debt, and it's putting everyone else in trouble. And it's too centralized. And you're right. We need to bring power back to the states. But how are we going to bring power back to the states if people are sleeping on their asses and not doing anything about their local politicians? You know, we definitely need to make people realize, like, look, we need to be voting in our local elections. We need to be, putting people in office that are for our best interest locally, because that's affecting our lives, everyone's lives around here. And if you have all of this happening throughout the country, then that's a safe, a safeguard towards a radical federal government. But if you have all the local governments just completely weak and taken over by Democrats, what are they going to do? They're always going to they're going to bend to their knees for the federal government every time, because that's all they want is centralization of everything.
Yeah, Roy Cooper was a mistake, but I think outside of Trump rallies, and I'll get to that in a minute, Republicans, our party does a very poor job of You look in the media, you look at how Democrats market and promote themselves to younger kids. I honestly feel Republicans, we do such a poor job in marketing our values and the policies that we like to the younger generation. My two younger brothers are both very conservative. My younger brother voted 2016, voted for Trump. It's not my business to say. I probably shouldn't have said that. But my youngest brother is extremely conservative also. And he'll be old enough to vote in this upcoming election. And I was just wondering if there was anything that we could suggest to the politicians running for office, the politicians that are in office on our side, to reach out to these younger kids and get them involved and get them interested.
That's a great question, and it's kind of like it's very limited what we can do to make politicians promote the Republican Party and the values of America and the Constitution.
We can email them.
We can definitely reach out to them, call them. But what we're doing right now is the key. We're the ones that are going to be marketing this because there's so many different things that kids like. Okay, and one of the most powerful tools, in my view, is music, and so that's why I make music, because I'm creating music that has powerful messages in it. That are promoting a more conservative view of life and not promoting drugs, not promoting a leftist ideologies or hating cops and all this stuff that rappers do. Anti-Christian values. That's what I'm against. So my music is one of my tools to be able to share that view, but also make it look, badass. Because if all the conservatives
Easter worshippers. What a joke that was.
Easter for worshippers. Yeah, all Christians do is they just find eggs next to a tree.
What a backhanded comment from both of them. Obama and Hillary.
Yeah, but it's so scripted though, because it was kind of ridiculous when I first saw that. I was like, no one says that ever. So why are you both saying it all of a sudden? It's clearly a scripted technique. And for in my view, they obviously did it on purpose. They don't want to tell people, oh, we feel sorry for those Christians that were massacred by radical Muslim terrorists. That's like vocabulary that they've erased from their mouth.
They'll say the opposite of it though.
If
it's a Muslim religious institution being shot up by a white guy or any Christian, period.
Oh, he's a Christian.
Yeah, they'll
white supremacist.
They'll name drop it out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and they'll do it over and over again, and they'll say it for a week or two straight if they have to. But when something like this happens, where it's clearly ISIS taking responsibility for it, and it's clearly a radical Muslim terrorist attack, you don't hear the word Muslim, Islam, or Christian, even though that's what it's all about. It's literally, that's what it's about. They won't even mention it. And then it's funny that people tell me, and other people on Facebook and stuff tell me how, Easter, it's not a big deal that they're doing this. It is a big deal because it's no one says Easter worshiper, and then they're using this as a script so that people don't think that it's necessary to feel sorry for Christians. It's all about some foreign land, the Easter worshipers. No, these are Christians that believe in Jesus Christ, just like millions of Americans in America.
What did you think of the Muslim ban, a year or 2 years ago?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
Well, technically, it wasn't a full-on Muslim ban, so they've kind of distorted it to make it seem like he's Islamophobic. But really, it's about banning certain countries from really war-torn areas that definitely have dangerous people in it. They come from
they chant "Death to America" in the streets over there.
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely let them all in. No, that's crazy. It's like someone down the street. You hear rumors and everyone tells you, and you see video footage of your neighbors saying, oh, we have to kill Ethan. Ethan's a piece of crap. And then are you going to be like, oh yeah, come eat with me for dinner? You know what I mean?
I wanted to ask Marco a couple more questions before we wrap up our pilot show. So, have you ever had more fun than attending a Trump rally?
Trump rallies are really fun. I've been to it, and we actually went to the same one.
I know, and I didn't know you were there. I know. Lorna and I were down below. We're 20 feet from the president, having a great time. I had said yesterday I had more fun at the Trump rally than I ever had at any professional sporting event. or anything like that.
Yeah, it gives you goosebumps because it's like the spirit of the people,
The country.
the country. It's all like it's the Patriot pulse. You know what I'm
He
saying?
walked out to the Eye of the Tiger. You remember that? He walked out, and I started the USA chant when I saw him. I was like, USA! And it was so interesting to me to see how well the president plays to the crowd, and he could just tell. He would go on talking policy, and as soon as he noticed that we were not falling out of what he was saying, but like as soon as the crowd, like our heart rates were going down a little bit, he would just throw another slogan out there, and everyone would just be like, "Yeah!" I really. If you haven't been to one, you need to go to one. There's really nothing like it.
Dude, there's so many lies out there about the rallies. Because some people are going to be watching this video, they're going to be like, they think we're racist or something. Dude, there's nothing racist there. When you go there, it's like a love fest of American patriots that love this country and love the Constitution. You don't, like, there's like this Democrat organization called Now This, and they make like these videos like, oh yeah, they beat people up there like they did in Nazi Germany. It's like, no, that's not what's happening.
I didn't see anything.
There's nothing, people weren't
down in
beaten.
Charlotte. Not to mention, I was more concerned about being assaulted by an Antifa member while I was down there. That's why I was almost hesitant to bring Lorna with me because I wanted to go so bad. And she wanted to go too, but I just didn't know what kind of trouble we were going to run into. But CMPD did a wonderful job securing the Bojangles Stadium. The arena was packed, 10,000 people in there. And when the president spoke, the crowd roared. I'd never seen anything like it in my lifetime.
I've been to 2 Trump rallies, and both of them are very high energy. They're basically it is America. America's kind of really glad that we actually have been kind of a revival of the American spirit, because I think Americans have kind of been in a dormancy in the last few decades, maybe, where people, or at least when I was young, because there wasn't a Trump, there wasn't as many voices on the mainstream political stage actually voicing what people think. So that's why it's such a big movement. And it goes beyond Trump. It's all the people. It's kind of getting people to start their own shows. We're going to start our own show. We're starting our own musical stuff, and it's just creating a new culture that's good for this country. This is what we're going to do is bring you the voice of the people. We're people here in Cornelius, in this local area, that we're
just average conservatives.
We're conservatives that believe in this country, and we're going to share our thoughts and also what we feel like everyone else is feeling here. So
I wanted to know, when did you get into politics?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I got into politics since I was like 17 or 18 years old. It kind of began with questioning everything. Even when I was like in middle school, I started to question everything, politics, religion, just everything. And eventually I started to understand the importance of politics. It really started with music, because music, I saw that there was a lot of anti-Christian, anti-God messages in pop and rap music, and it was bothering me.
You couldn't relate to it.
I couldn't relate to it.
Same issue I ran into.
I couldn't relate to it. There was something missing in my life. And then when I started to understand that there was, people manipulating how people thought, literal mind control was going on in our society, when I figured that out, that's what really got me into politics. And I realized politics is where the real adult men and women are going to be at. They're going to be, moving towards politics, because politics affects everybody. It's your life is affected by it. Your future children, generations are affected by it. Everything is affected by it. Everything else is kind of like a side issue when it comes to because compared to politics. And that's why I became so into it, because I was like,
I'm obsessed. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm totally obsessed with it, because you can't run away from politics. Even when
they're in your face every day.
And even if you ignore it, if you want to be one of those people that they're totally apathetic to it and don't want to do anything to do with it, well, just the act of not caring about politics, you're affecting politics. So basically, we also want to reach out to all the people, not just conservatives, but also to everyone else. All the people that are on the fence, all the people that are libertarian. We also need more votes going the right direction, because there's a lot of libertarians. This is something I wanted to bring up with you too, is we need votes from people, not just Republicans, because what about all the people that aren't voting that are intelligent people? They still think that there's no choice. Some people think there's nothing they can do about the country, and they're just so they've raised up the white flag. No, this is the beginning of a new movement in America, and that we need to sort of mobilize all these people that aren't doing anything, that they think they can't do anything to change the world. No, we're going to be working together.
The vote is power.
It's power.
I think Trump stole more independent votes in the last election than people realize. Both my parents had voted Democrat before voted for Trump.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I remember when I was first getting into politics, I didn't get really into it until 2016. I remember growing up 04 or 2000 to 2008 when George W. Bush was in office. I remember being, because I was a kid, in 2001 when 9/11 happened, I just turned 6. And I remember Barack Obama. I didn't know any difference between the political parties when I was younger. It wasn't until the 2016 election when I was watching the debates going on, when it was Trump versus Hillary, and every time Hillary would open her mouth, I was just like, well, I don't agree with anything that she's saying.
Yeah.
And every time Trump would speak, I was just like, oh yeah, America, this is what I'm about, know. And going into that, I had no experience, no political affiliation. I was just living my life day to day, being a Southern Bucky that I am, just doing what I do. And it really was watching the base, and every time that the two would go back and forth. When Hillary would speak, I'd want to vomit, and then when Trump would talk, I was just pumped up, ready to go. And then I lost it. I fell off my couch laughing so hard at I think it was one of the final debates that he had when Hillary Clinton was like, I would hope that a man with Donald Trump's temper wouldn't be in office. And Trump was like, yeah, you'd be in jail. I literally fell off my couch laughing. I laughed so hard I fell into the floor. And I still, I wasn't as partisan, not near as partisan then as I am now, but I was like, this is my guy right here. This guy is funny.
I mean, it was crazy. The phenomenon of Trump was incredible for me too, because I was watching all those debates. I was on the edge of my seat watching it, because I was just amazed at how it was like a part of us was reaching through that TV through Trump.
Gun ho America.
You know what I mean? Trump was kind of carrying the vibe that everyone was giving him. Basically, he was kind of he really is a representation of Americans. That's why it's so good, because these Democrats, they don't actually represent.
They're not American people.
They're not Americans.
They
don't
Americans. Represent what it means to be an American.
Yeah, when we watch them talk, we don't feel like that's a part of us. That we literally are our senses are up because we're dude, this is the enemy. We don't feel when I listen to Trump speaking, it's I don't agree with every single thing he says, but most of the time when he's speaking, it's dude, this is me. This is I would say the same thing in his position.
Right, I'm right there with you. I even look at someone else that, looking back, I liked in the beginning more than I thought. Trump was there initially as a sideshow attraction. I really liked Ted Cruz. I don't think there's a Republican that speaks better than Ted Cruz when it comes to what being a Republican is all about. He speaks blood, sweat, and tears.
He's good at
definitely gun-ho. I really enjoyed Ted Cruz. And I also liked Benjamin Carson, the neurosurgeon from Detroit. I had watched a couple years before the campaigns were going on for the 2016 election. I had listened to a motivational speech and video that Ben Carson had done, and he's a phenomenal story. So I was between Ted Cruz, Benjamin Carson, Republican Party, still not knowing anything between the two, Democrat or Republican, and I liked Trump. I liked the aura of Trump because you knew he was a big baller, making money, very successful in the real estate business, and he was a builder. But I honestly just thought he was there for people to watch,
Oh yeah, that's funny. It was definitely, it became clear over time when Trump started exposing certain things about the government that other politicians would never dare to talk about, like 9/11, and that was an inside job. And he would start talking about this stuff, and I was like, dude, that's definitely not someone that from the establishment that we know of, because no one says that kind of stuff if you're part of the swamp. You know what I'm saying? So those types of things that he was saying made me feel oh, this guy is more independent. Actually, he ran with the Republican Party because it makes sense to, because most people are going to vote for either Democrats or Republicans. But he was kind of almost like an independent person that was kind of had like that kind of shared a lot of American values, that was using the Republican Party, and it kind of led to the whole change and shift in the Republican Party itself, from going from the establishment globalist neocon type to the new like grassroots nationalist people that are actually taking over locally and also in the federal government.
Right. Although I disagree with 9/11 conspiracy theories, I haven't seen one that makes any sense to me. I believe it was radical Islamic terrorists. But what Trump said to Jeb Bush, when he said he was talking to the crowd, and he was talking about donors and how they can control politicians. And when he said, "Oh, that's all Jeb Bush's donors in the crowd," when they were booing Trump and cheering Jeb Bush, and Trump said, "I don't want their money. I don't need their money, and I'm the only one up here that can say that." And I was like, "This is my guy right here," you know. But the next question that I'd wanted to ask is, do you think Trump loses next year? Honestly, do you think? I think he fights Bernie or he fights Biden. Do you think he loses to either one of those choices?
No, I don't think he's going to lose unless there is a major manipulation in the voting itself. Like if the voting gets rigged, if the machines themselves are rigged to where it's literally changing the results of the election by hacking those electronic machines, which is possible, which has been done and actually been proven to be possible, then that can cost the election for Trump. But if we, really focus on like paper ballots, which is really important, I strongly promote paper ballots over an electronic ballot that can literally easily be changed.
I prefer that, paper ballots. Yeah, the only two elections I've voted in.
Because in my view, if everything is correct and you get the actual voting results that are accurate, Trump is definitely going to win. I mean, most of the country is red. I mean, everywhere I go, if it's
look
not
at his approval rating right now.
His approval rating is like high for a president, and that's like not even. That's just assuming that it's an accurate poll. I mean, honestly, from last year, as we talked about before, the poll, there was a lot of polls that were totally rigged, and he would still be winning in some of the rigged polls. And so they're saying Clinton had like a 97-98% chance of winning.
97.
Total joke.
On election day. I remember seeing that and getting really pissed. Yeah. Really pissed. Because I was like, I remember like the months before the election day, I didn't know anyone that was voting for Hillary. Everyone that I spoke to around was voting for Trump. So,
yeah, exactly.
And I remember watching as the election results were coming in, Trump was ahead, almost way ahead. That he went way ahead, but I cut off the TV because I think I was honestly probably watching CNN. I didn't even at the time know enough to know, but they were saying, "Oh, Hillary's about a surge to victory," and I was like, "Get out of here! Like, get out of here!" Honestly,
a surge to victory.
She was about a surge to victory. I was like, "Get out of here!" I cut off the TV. I went to sleep. I woke up next morning like a kid on Christmas, dude. I jumped out of the bed, waved my fist in the air. And
dude, I was there till like 3 a.m. I didn't even go to sleep. I was like watching it till the very last friggin' votes were in. And dude, I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is a friggin' miracle. Because we remember, the Democrats were the ones stealing votes. Bernie was actually supposed to be the nominee.
The primary, right.
But he lost votes it was like Massachusetts or one of those northeastern states where it was like clearly he won, but she still won the super-delegates, and it was like, this is ridiculous.
I remember hearing about that.
That was ridiculous.
People were like, what's really going on here?
Yeah, which makes me wonder, like, why would anyone want to run for the Democrat Party after that? Seriously, like, it doesn't make sense. You're not going to win unless they want you. But anyways, that's beside the point. But the point is, like, the Republicans, we need to pay attention to our local voting booths and make sure there isn't some kind of major like corruption going on in the counting of the votes too. And as long as the votes are counted correctly.
Did you see your vote get counted? I didn't in 2016, but 2018 last fall when we voted in the general elections, the local elections, I saw my vote get counted. The lady at the ballot box said, "Watch your vote get counted," and you see the number turned by 1. Which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I think I did too. Yeah.
The last question I have for you, which I've already asked you too, so I bluffed. Sorry. Like when you walked in to vote, because I could only vote in 2 elections, 2016, 2018. So I'm assuming it's the same for you. Did you have your ID in hand like I did and hand it to the lady? This is my. I didn't know that you didn't need to have an ID to vote. I handed it to the lady in both the churches I went to vote in. And I was like, "Here's my ID." And she's like, "I don't need to see that." And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's my ID."
Yeah, exactly. Well, luckily we just passed it recently. Locally, we have now.
I thought Cooper voted it down. I thought the people voted it in, and then Cooper vetoed it.
Really, I don't remember that. Maybe you're right.
I hope you're right.
I'm pretty sure that was passed, but I'll look into it and we'll talk about it later. But yeah, definitely it was kind of a red flag for me when I noticed that they didn't need any information from me or anything. Like it was there's no verification.
I just told them an address. That's all. They were just tell me your address. I was like, what?
And then the Democrats are saying, there's illegal voting is not going to happen, dude. When I see something like that, I'm like, dude, think about how much illegal voting could happen.
What could you? It almost makes me think. What if some guy just runs in here, shouts out an address, and then votes, and then goes to another church, shouts out an address, and then votes, and then goes to another church and.
Project Veritas is an organization that literally goes out and investigates these types of scenarios, and they've caught people admitting they've caught people admitting they vote 5 times for the Democrats. I mean, it's totally a real thing, and that's why voter ID is so important. And I remember the Democrats were against it because they know they need those illegal
immigration. Yeah.
It's
astonishing. But I would like to wrap up our show. We thank you for tuning in, Marco. Thank you very much for coming over, and I look forward to the rest of our evening.
Yeah, we're gonna see you again. We're gonna make more of these, so stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.